So in this video, I'm going to show you how we can build a React star rating component. Basically, what we're going to be building is this widget here, which just allows the user to pick one of these blog cards, hover over them, pick a rating, click, and then set the current rating for the blog card to 4, 1, 5, 2. The user can also reset by clicking on the rating again. They just reset the rating, and then this will persist on the backend as well. So if I refresh the page, data will be loaded from the server, because it's every time we click on the rating, that data is sent to a backend and is saved along with the data for every blog card. So this is what we're going to be doing. I will split this into 2 videos. The first one is just some preparation steps. We're going to be creating this blog page from scratch. We're going to be using a Tailwind HTML template, converting it to React, and then componentize these blog cards. So we're going to create a special component called BlogCard for each of these blog cards. We're going to be connecting this with a very simple web server. So all this data will be fetched from a JSON server. So the first part of the video is all about setting this web application, and the second part is about the star rating component. If you want to skip ahead straight to the second video and see how we can create this star rating component, feel free to do so. But if you're beginning in React and you want to also take a look at how we can build something like this very simple blog page from scratch, you can stick to this video. Also in this video, I'm going to providing a high-level overview of how this architecture, it's kind of like full stack application architecture, is working. So let's get started. Let's go to the high-level overview. First of all, we're going to have a React application on the front end. The application that I just showed is this simple front-end React application. We're going to be using Vite for creating the project and developing. We're going to have this kind of like blog card, let's say, sections. We're going to load like 6 of these blog cards, and then we're going to grab this data from a backend. For the backend, I have a tool called json-server, which acts as a very simple web server that can also store and serve data in the form of a JSON file. So json-server contains this simple text JSON file. So there's going to be a file called db.json, or you can call it whatever you want, just a simple text file, and all this data, all this block, let's say, data will be stored in here in the form of a JSON array full of JSON like objects. We will see this in a moment. So all this data are going to be fetched from the React app through a HTTP GET request, and then the server will respond. The server will receive the request, and then it will respond with these this blog card data, and we're going to render them on the React app. So this is kind of like the very simple full stack architecture. This, of course, a very simple backend. It's mainly used for development and not for production cases. And one last thing I want to add here is that JSON server allows you not just to store some data here in the db.json or another JSON file and then access and read them, but it has full capacity for the CRUD operations, meaning you can create a new entry, a new entity in this file. For example, in this case, we can create a new blog post data. So we have create, read, update, and delete. So all these operations are supported by json-server, and there's a very simple interface, a very simple API that you can use in order to create, read, update, or delete. You can use the HTTP GET for the post for creating, the HTTP post method, the GET for reading, the paths or put for updating an entity, and the delete method for deleting the blog post data. Now, if we focus a little bit on these block cards, let me grab the star rating. So for the star rating, we're going to be displaying this star rating thing here. And every time the user clicks on this star rating system, we're going to be sending another request to the backend. This will be an HTTP paths, because we're going to be updating one of these block card entries, and we're going to be updating the star rating. So the star rating will be a simple number, 0 to 5, 0 for no rating, 1 for 1 star, 5 to 5 stars, and so forth. So this data, let's say if we have a star rating of 3 in this case, we're going to be sending this number to the backend so that it is stored alongside the other data of the blog post, the title, the date, and the content. So here's a high-level overview of this web application. As you can see, it's kind of like a full stack app, and I will focus on the mostly on the front-end part, on creating this web application and this star rating. So the JSON server will act as a dummy server. In order to proceed, you have to have Node.js installed. So you should be running Node on your system. One quick way to check whether you have Node installed is to open up a terminal and run node -- version, and you'll see I'm running Node version 23. Otherwise, you download and you install. Alongside Node, you will have npm installed. It's a built-in tool that comes packed with Node and npx. We're going to be using both of these commands in our development process. So here's a demo of what we're going to be building, and let's get started by creating this application. So let me go here. Here's the folder that I'm going to be using. So let me stop all the other things that are running, and I'm going to open up this folder in the integrated terminal in VS Code. I'm using VS Code, and now I'm going to be running Vite to create a new React application. Let me go to the Vite documentation. So Vite React, just to remember how I can start a new Vite React project. So we need npm, and then there's this command that I can grab. So we're going to be creating a new React app using Vite. So here's the command. Let me paste this here, as I'm going to be putting in the notes below. So npm create Vite using the latest version. This is going to be the project name. I'm going to name it star rating. This is a custom name, of course, and this is the template that you want to use. We're not going to be using Vue.js, we're going to be using React. So with this command, let's create a new star rating React app. It's ready. which means I will have to run these 3 commands. No, let me first. So go into the star rating folder that was just created by the npm create tool, and then I'm going to run npm install to install all the available dependencies, all the required dependencies for this React project, and then npm run dev to actually run the development server and see my application running on the browser. It's ready, and now npm run dev, and I'm going to hit click or command and click, sorry, to see the Vite and React application running. I'm going to be opening up the console. Always have the console open so you can see any errors or warnings that might pop up here. We're working with JavaScript, so always need to have our console. And let me first of all click and check all these steps. So we created our React app. We also need to have Node.js installed, so install Node.js if you not already have it. Now let's start by creating the website or the web app. I'm going to be going into the star rating folder that was just created, opening up the main component, the app.jsx, and then cleaning up everything here, because I will just put my own content. I will also clear all these imports that are not used. The first thing I need to do is I'm going to be using a Tailwind template that I'm going to grab from a website. So I will need first to integrate Tailwind CSS into this Vite React project. So in here I need to install and configure Tailwind CSS for React using Vite. And let me go and search for Tailwind CSS, Vite, and React. Let's see. I'm going to put all these links in the description below. So we have the installation procedure on the Tailwind CSS file site. There are a couple of steps. So first install these 2 dependencies. I'm going to close the server. So let me put this one, it's done. I should be seeing in my Package JSON 2 new dependencies, this Tailwind CSS Vite and Tailwind CSS, the main core library. Then I need to configure the Vite config ts file. So next is going to be configure. So let me open up Vite config.js. I'm not using TypeScript for this template. I should be using TypeScript, but just for simplicity I will stick with plain JavaScript. So there's a Vite config.js, not Vite config.ts if you're not using TypeScript. I highly recommend that you stick with TypeScript. Always work with TypeScript. So let's import the Tailwind CSS, and then let's import and execute this function to actually have Tailwind configured in our React project with Vite. So I made all the necessary configuration options on this file. Let me check that. Next is going to be import add this import on our CSS file, on our main CSS file. So add this guy here. I'm going to be opening up the main CSS, the index CSS, and placing this at the top So this is the main root, let's say global CSS for our application. It's already created by Vite. So I have this check, and then of course we run npm run dev. This is actually just to run your development server and make sure that Tailwind is installed and is running. So it's just steps 1 up to 3. Let's see whether we have Tailwind now installed. So npm run dev, or as you will see me, I will be running run dev. I have a shortcut on my system to run npm run just with run instead of npm run. So run dev is npm run dev. And let me open up. We see nothing, of course, because I just removed everything from the JSX file. So let me go back here and just add a title. And in order to check whether Tailwind is installed and configured correctly, I'm going to use some of the Tailwind classes. So class name, let me add a font bold and I don't know, text orange something. So you can see I can use the Tailwind classes, but let's see whether they work. And indeed I have Tailwind installed, because these Tailwind classes provide these two coloring and font style. So we're all set up. We have Tailwind installed in our React app. Then let's go on and grab the template. So for the template, I decided to search and find a Tailwind HTML template. I'm not going to be using a React template. I want to start from scratch. So I went to this creative team website, searched for a blog template, and I found this nice looking simple setup where we have these BlogCards. So I'm going to click show code and then grab this or copy this HTML template. And before going and pasting it right here, I need to convert this into JSX. So by default, this template is an HTML template. And as you know, in React and JSX, we have to make some changes in order to be able to use them in React. For example, React doesn't support, or JSX rather doesn't support these HTML comments. We need to convert these classes to class names. The self-closing tags should contain the slash at the end. So these are some rules that React requires. Now I could go and do all these changes manually, but I will search for an extension. Let me see if I have already the extension installed. I have this extension called HTML to JSX, so you can check it out. And I will open up the command palette. I will find the convert HTML to JSX, hit enter, and I need to select. First I'm going to select all the content, then convert to JSX. And as you can see, class name instead of class, I have this proper JSX comment. The img tags are enclosed with the slash at the end. One thing that I don't like with this extension is that it leaves the alt tags as a Boolean attribute here. So this is not what we need to. First of all, we need to add some kind of description. But even if we leave this empty, JSX, I believe, will complain. So I'm going to select all of them, and instead of leaving them like this, like a Boolean attribute, I'm going to add an empty string. So everything is ready. I'm going to remove the comment, cut, and move it over here. Then right click and format document, always format for proper indentation, and let's see whether it works. So we do have the template. So everything is great so far. Next, I'm going to remove this some of the spaces around here and the background, so that it's kind of like have a consistent background. So let me go in. So I'm going to open up the editor browser just to keep focused on my VS Code. So I'm going to open the command palette once again, type browser, and open up the simple browser, and open up the localhost address where Vite is running my app. It's this is, by the way, the numeric kind of like format of Vite, so you can kind of like read Vite here. So I'm going to be placing this here just to skip the switching and toggling between the browser and the editor. So this is the background for the dark mode. Let me open up the index CSS, and I'm going to be looking for the body. Let me open up the index HTML, and in the body I'm going to say class and the dark gray, the same color for the dark theme, so that we have all this nice consistent background. Now here's plain HTML, so I don't need to switch to class name. And I'm also going to remove some of the body margins, I think. Let me see if I have any margins. Okay, looks good here. Container. Okay, we're all set up. The next thing I want to do now, this, as you can see, is responsive. So when the screen gets smaller, these BlogCards stack one beneath the other. The next thing I want to do is I want to make this huge HTML read a little bit more better. So basically I'm going to get all these BlogCards and make a component so that I don't have this long bloated HTML code. I will be creating a BlogCard component. Usually what you do is you will create a new file and import that component. For now I'm going to stay on the same file, but then I'm going to move it to a new file on its own. Now the cool thing about this template is that all these 6 BlogCards are easy to find, so you can either look closely on the HTML and you will see there's this repetitive pattern. So these are the 6 divs that contain its BlogCard. So one way to find out these components, these UI elements, is by studying the code. Another thing that I like to do is to put a background or a border. Rather, let me put a border. I'm going to be using Tailwind classes, and this is another way like to find whether this div is the parent container for this for these parts of the UI. The third way, probably the best, is to just go to the inspector and then in here try to inspect and see whether you can find so you can see I can hover and I can see that these divs are the containers of the BlogCard. So inspector is probably the safest bet. Now that we have this, I'm going to be grabbing the content just of the first BlogCard and going into the BlogCard component, return, and then format document. So just placing the content, the markup of the BlogCard in here, and then let's see whether if I like comment this first BlogCard and I just place the component here, I get the same result. And indeed, I get the same result. So I successfully componentized this BlogCard. The problem is, of course, that if I use it one or more times, I will see the same content, the same picture, the same title, the same date. Now, this should be dynamic values, not hard-coded like this. So I'm going to be passing these values as a prop, mainly the source, the image source, the title, and the date. So I need to put some props on this guy here and pass this data like this. So src and then date. And then through the props, I will be able to pass this data to the BlogCard and display them dynamically. So let me grab the img, the source for the img tag, the title, and the date. Here, now this guy is complaining because it is declared and it's never used. So let me use the props src here by props src. I missed the equal here, and then in here I think I had the props dot title, and then on the date I will put props date. Now all this data, the image source, the title, and the date are passed through these three props. And of course I can use the same component for all the other BlogCards. So let me discard the first one, and I have to do this. So let me just clear this, and I'm going to copy this above its div so I can replace them one by one. And during the video editing, I'm going to speed this process up. So let's start. Okay, so we're done. We have our 6 BlogCards as React components now. Let me check also on the browser. Let me open up the console. Okay, looks good, like the same kind of like styling, responsive in mobile, tablet, or desktop mode. So everything looks good. Now the next step is to, instead of like repeating myself and have all these BlogCards one after the other, if I want to add more BlogCards, I don't want to repeat myself and keep doing this again and again. So instead of hard coding all these 6 BlogCards, I'm going to move all the data to an array. All this data meaning the BlogCard title, source, and date. So have a data structure that contains the data for all these 6 BlogCards, and then iterate, loop over this array, and for its data, for its BlogCard data, render the BlogCard component. So let's improve our code by creating a posts array, and then we're going to have a title, and we're going to have an src. We're going to have a date, and for this one I'm going to also add an ID, because usually you get a unique ID for its post or for its piece of data. Usually you get this from the backend, from the database, so we should be including an ID. So I'm going to be copying this 3, 4, 5, 6 times So we have post number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now once again, I'm going to speed this up, so I'm going to be moving all the data inside the array. Okay, we have our data, so all the data for these 6 blog post components are is contained within this posts array. The posts, now the editor is complaining because we haven't used the post. So we're going to iterate through this array, and for every data object we're going to be rendering a component that will be displaying this data. So I'm going to be using the posts map to loop over them, and then for each post I'm going to be rendering a block card, and now each post will have a post title. It's going to be having a post src and a post date. So let's see. I have autosave, so every time I do some edits, it's autosaved, and then the development server gets refreshed. So everything looks good. Okay, you can see all the posts. Let me check on the browser, because sometimes you can see these kind of like warnings. So it says that each child in a list should have a unique key prop. Check the render method of app. So this is because in the render method of app, meaning the return statement basically, there's a list, and each component that gets rendered from this list should have a unique key. So I need key equals, and this is where I'm going to be using the unique ID. So now if I go to the browser and refresh, the warning is gone. So always use a unique key value, and don't use the array index. Okay, try to avoid using the index here as the key. This is discouraged. And another thing that I can do, because as you can see I keep writing post.id, post.title, post.something, I can basically destructure these properties and then get rid of the post. Depends on how you like it. I prefer this destruction, it's a little bit more clean, and I will do the same in the BlogCard. So I'm going to say src title date, and then remove the props dot accessor just to have a little bit nicer formatting here. Okay, we made these changes, it works. Now this is static content hard-coded on the front end, but I want this to be fetched. I want this data. I want this post data to be coming from the backend, from a server. So for that I'm going to be using an application called json-server. Let me open up the terminal, and I'm going to be opening this up in this folder. So let me go to here. So if you have Node.js installed, you also have npx, which means you can download and execute some npm packages. The package I'm going to be executing and using here is the JSON server. Let me open up. I'm here on the root folder, and in order for db.json to for the JSON server to run, I need to supply some kind of a file. Let me see, npx JSON server. I need to supply a file. You can call it like posts JSON or whatever. Usually we use db.json because it acts as a simple database. I need, of course, to create a db.json in the folder here. So a new file, db.json, And I'm going to grab a sample db.json file from the JSON server website. I'm going to go to the GitHub page where they have this example db.json. So I can copy this and paste it here. So they have some samples here, some posts, two comments, profile. And if I run now this command, if you haven't installed JSON server as a global package, you will first get a message asking you to install JSON server. You you type Y for yes and then press enter, and then the JSON server is running. It's running on localhost 3000, and you can see all the entities, all the resources that are available. So every entry in our db.json array here, the posts, so all these keys here in the root folder are endpoints for a specific entity, for posts, comments, and profile. So I can see all the posts, or I can just grab the first post using the ID. And for all these entities, for all these resources, post, comments, and profile, we can send an HTTP GET request to get the data, a post request to create a new entity, a new post, a new comment, delete, HTTP delete for deleting one of them, and patch or put for updating. So we have a full-blown, let's say, web server, which is providing an API for this JSON data. Now I'm going to be replacing the dummy sample posts from the original file with our own data. First of all, let me go back to the go back here and then grab the posts from here and replace this array with the one I got from my JSX file. So we have moved them here. Just to make sure, I will be stopping the JSON server and rerunning it so that it reads the new file that I just updated. And now, if everything works as expected, we should be seeing on localhost, when we're hitting the backend on port 3000, we will be seeing the post that we just pasted. So it seems to be working fine. Let me grab the fifth post. Okay, everything works as expected. Now I need to go here, and instead of having this data hard-coded here, I'm going to be using a fetch request to grab the data from the JSON server. I'm going to be using useState to create a state. I will call it posts. I'm going to be storing the post data here. So I'm going to initialize this with an empty array. So import useState from React. So initially this would be an empty array, and we would see nothing here. But after we have fetched the data, we will update this state variable, and the blog post will be showing. So I'm going to be using also useEffect to do this like call to the server when the component, the app component, has mounted. So I'm going to be providing an empty dependency array, so this useEffect runs only once. I'm going to be doing some good practices here, like naming my anonymous callback, my side effect callback, with something that describes what it's doing. So fetch, the URL would be, of course, localhost 3000 posts, HTTP for development, always use HTTPS in production. So fetch URL, and then get the response, and then convert the body into a JSON object. And then on the next, then I'm going to be having my data available, the JSON data. So instead of data, which is to generic, I'm going to change to the actual data. The variable should describe what it contains. So this is a posts array. Then of course always handle the errors, not just with a console log, but showing something to the user. Let's see whether this works. I have to switch to the browser. You can see here I get my data back from the JSON server, so the fetch successfully grabbed the data. Always break your code. So this will probably work in development, but there's something that's going to happen during production. So always kind of like simulate an error. For example, I usually change the URL here to simulate an error. So if there's a network error, I'm just mocking the URL. There will be some kind of error, so you need to handle this inside the cats. So one way that you can simulate an error is to, just simulate a network error by changing the URL, or you can just do something as silly as just using an undefined variable here, which is going to throw, and then we're going to be having the cats handle this error. F is not defined, so in here, once again, another type of error. You should handle it by showing something to the user. I'm going to skip this for now, but these are the best practices. So I have my data here. It's time to set the state according to these posts. And now if I refresh, let me see. So I will get my data. Now we're seeing double here because in React development mode, and specifically in strict mode, the component will mount and re-render, it will render twice. So this is okay. This is for development and debugging purposes only. Don't worry if you see this thing running twice. And don't disable the strict mode in React. This happens in the index, the main file, the main JSX. Strict mode, never remove this. It's there for good reason. So we have the data, and we can proceed now with the star rating. Let me see that it works both in the in-browser here. So the next on the next video, I'm going to skip into creating and implementing the star rating widget, which is going to be placed here. So we have set up our basic web app. See you in the next video where we're going to be implementing the star rating app.